Darling, hold my hand! Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Okay, so good day po, taong bayan. At ngayon pag-usapan po natin tong joke ni Vice Ganda dun po sa isa po niyang, hindi ko alam kung concert ba to or comedy show eh. Pero anyway, we will be discussing this, so I will be explaining free speech and its limitations po. So kung mag-enjoy po kayo sa video, wag niyo po sana kalimutan i-like mismo itong video ko po na to sa YouTube, and of course po mag-subscribe sa YouTube channel ko para updated po kayo kung may bago tayong upload. So para klaro po tayo, yung magiging facts po ng discussion natin is ito pong video na makikita po nyo sa page ni Miss Kiffy Chu. Okay? So I believe this is si Miss Crisette po to eh, pero naging Kiffy na yung name niya. Anyway, ito po yung magiging facts ng discussion natin. Hindi ko na po ipi-play directly in this video yung actual video, yung may joke, kasi baka ma-copyright po tayo or ma-censor or whatever, because this is a pretty sensitive topic po eh. Madami pong mga nagbangayan basically from both sides, dun sa mga pro-Duterte group and from the anti-Duterte group. And as a matter of fact, gumawa ako ng photo post about this. Tapos ang nangyari, yun yung naging most liked photo ko ever sa page. Tapos nung nagbasa-basa po ako ng comments dun, madami pong nag-aaway. So I decided to still make a video regarding this kahit medyo late na nga po ako actually. So anyway po, i-explain ko lang sa inyo talaga kung ano ba yung right to free speech natin, freedom of expression, tapos kung ano yung mga limitations dun. Tapos may konting maritesan din po tayo sa dulo, magbibigay lang ako ng mga personal observations ko regarding this issue. Okay? So, unang-una po, ang kailangan talaga natin tandaan when it involves our right to free speech and freedom of expression is Section 4, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution. So, nakalagay po doon, no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Yun po yung first part ng Section 4, which covers our right to free speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and freedom po to air out our grievances. So, anyway, pakita ko na nga lang din po yung actual provision sa Constitution para sigurado, kasi baka po sabihin nyo fake news ako eh. Okay, so we're back in our very favorite law of the land lately po. Ito yung lagi nating napapag-usapan eh. Okay, so pupunta po tayo niyan dito, Article 3, Bill of Rights, and then from here we will just go to Section 4. So yan, no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, expression of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. Pero for today's topic po, ang mako-cover lang natin is yung first part lang po, yung no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech or expression. Okay, so yung brief discussion lang po natin dito, tatandaan natin, is yung freedom of speech and or expression po ng isang tao dito sa Pilipinas is hindi po yan siya absolute, okay? So meaning pag hindi po absolute, meron po yang limitations or may hangganan. So yung limitations po dyan, yung pinaka-basic po na limitation dyan is kung yung speech po or expression ninyo will already amount to a crime. So when we say that crime is a limitation to our freedom of speech, ang best example po dyan is the crime of inciting to sedition or libel and or cyber libel. Okay? So yung inciting to sedition po, ito yung pag gumagawa ka ng speech tapos you are inciting or gusto mo na yung mga nakikinig sa speech mo ay gumawa ng mga violent acts towards the government po natin or for other political purpose. Okay? So yan po yung inciting to sedition. Basically gusto mo manggulo yung mga nakikinig sa inyo or nakikinig sa'yo for political purposes. Okay? In other words, you are trying to incite violence for political gain po dun sa mga viewers or listeners ng speech mo. Okay? So yan po yung inciting to sedition. And then yung cyber libel naman po or the crime of libel, ito naman po pag yung may gagawin ka na para manirang puri. In other words, yung purpose po ng mga pinagsasabi mo ay para siraan yung isang tao, may it be the reputation or honor po of another individual. Okay? So yan po ang crime of inciting to sedition and cyber libel. So ngayon po dito sa video or sa joke ni Vice Ganda, hindi naman to siya pwede pumasok sa inciting to sedition, kasi kung papanoorin po nyo yung video, wala naman po siyang sinasabi or ginagawang speech kung saan gusto niya gumawa ng mga violent acts yung mga viewers niya or nakikinig sa kanya for political purposes. So, klaro po yun na walang ganon dito sa video niya. Pero yung ginawa po niya dito, gumawa po siya ng joke kung saan pwede siya ma-interpret as besmirching the reputation or honor of former President Rodrigo Roa Viva Duterte. So ngayon, I'm sure ang isip po ninyo, baka pwede to siya pumasok for libel and or cyber libel, yung ganitong joke ni Vice Ganda. However po kasi, in the crime of libel, one of the essential elements there is dapat meron ka pong intent. May malicious intent ka po talaga para manirang puri. Diba? In short, kaya mo ginawa yung speech or yung statement na yon ay gusto mo talaga sirain yung reputation or honor of that person. However po, in the situation dito ni Vice Ganda, it is very clear po in the eyes of a reasonable person na ginagawa lang niya to as a joke at wala po siyang malicious intent. Kasi unang-una po, I think this is a concert po ba or a live comedy show. Hindi ko alam actually yung proper event na to. Pero in this event po, alam naman ng mga attendees ni Vice Ganda na this is for purposes of entertainment. Diba? Yun yung rason kaya siya nag-conduct nitong comedy show niya or concert basically. In other words, ang main point ko po is that mahirap po siya ma-qualify as a libelous statement because mahirapan tayo basically to establish the malicious intent na yung rason niya kaya niya to ginawa ay para siraan yung reputation or honor ni FPRRD. Okay? Plus in cyber libel cases po kasi or in libel cases in general, truth po kasi is a defense in cyber libel cases. Ang nangyayari niyan, pag totoo yung sinabi mo with regard the person na you addressed in your speech or statement, babaliktad po yan ngayon yung situation tapos mawawala yung malicious intent mo to commit a crime. So, dun pa lang po medyo mahirapan talaga kasi ito namang mga joke or statements na sinabi dito ni Vice Ganda, those are all actual true statements naman po made by FPRRD himself. Diba? Dati nag-joke siya na mag-jet ski siya going to the West Philippine Sea. Tapos it is also true fact din naman po na currently si FPRRD is currently in detention po sa The Hague sa ICC. Okay? So yan po yung sa legal side of things. So again, in the legal side of things, mahirapan po magkaroon ng criminal liability dito si Vice Ganda for the reasons I mentioned. Okay? Number one, this is a entertainment show. It's a concert or comedy show ba? So from there, any reasonable person would interpret this as a joke. Okay? Pero again, yan po yung sa legal side. Ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa moral side of things. Sa moral side of things, ang masasabi ko lang po ay hindi maganda magbiro kung yung joke mo is nakaka-insulto or nakasakit ng ibang tao. Yun lang po yung personal opinion ko. Regardless po kung sino yung subject matter, kahit po hindi pa si FPRRD yung subject matter dito, yun pa rin po talaga yung mga position ko regarding mga jokes or pranks. Kung nakasakit yun siya, hindi yun siya dapat i-normalize natin because that is not a laughing matter, di ba? Kung ganun po yun. So baka sabihin nyo, I am now pro FPRRD. So yung mga joke po ni FPRRD when he cursed at God before, he made jokes. I'm also not in favor of that. Hindi ko po tinawanan yun dati when I was still in Congress actually. So in other words, yung point ko po, maging patas lang po tayo. I joke po if it will hurt another individual should not be tolerated or allowed or normalized because it goes against the very essence po of being a joke. Hindi po dapat nakasakit ang joke. Kaya nga siya joke, di ba? Kasi dapat nakatawa siya. Okay? So yun po yung position ko dito. In other words po, I am not in favor of statements like this, not because I am pro FPRRD or pro Duterte, but simply because if it is offensive to another individual, it should not be allowed as a joke. Ganun po talaga yung position ko as a person in general. Okay? I have very conservative tendencies po talaga or conservative leanings when it comes to policies. Okay? So if you know me personally, you know I come from a very conservative church. I grew up in a very conservative environment. So kung yung mga ganito po na nakakasakit ng kapwa-tao natin, hindi ko po yan or hindi po yan pasok sa morals ko as a person. Pero hindi ko rin naman po pwede pagbawalan si Vice Ganda dito na gumawa ng mga ganitong joke because at the end of the day, that is his freedom of speech or expression. So ang best way na lang po natin to counter this, like what I stated in my photo post, is that you should also exercise your freedom of speech or expression against her dito sa mga actions yang ganito. But I would like to emphasize, yung point ko po doon is hindi nyo dapat physical na saktan or gumawa kayo ng criminal act towards Vice Ganda. Baka mamaya po gumawa na kayo ng mga libelous statements. Hindi po yun siya ganun. So dito po si Vice Ganda, he just exercised his free speech or freedom of expression. So yun din po yung karapatan ninyo, taong bayan. You can also exercise your free speech and freedom of expression in relation dito sa action ni Vice Ganda. Subject to the limitation sa dapat hindi maging criminal act po yung pag-exercise yun ng free speech or freedom of expression ninyo. Okay? So hopefully klaro po yan. So anyway, hanggang dyan po yung discussion natin. If you like more legal videos, may lalabas po yan dito sa gilid ng mukha ko na isa-suggest ni YouTube algorithm sa inyo. And until next time, see you all po. Bye!